Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Stephen Bulldrek, and I am here today to talk about Star Wars. So, unfortunately, it took me a couple weeks to see Star Wars. I really, really would have loved to have gone and done the marathon, um, where they showed all six of the previous movies leading up to the premiere of Force Awakens. Unfortunately, they didn't really do it in an area where any of my friends really were um, that wanted to go do it. If they'd had it down in Dayton, I know that my buddy Andy and I would loved to have gone, and I just would have, it would have been fantastic. Unfortunately, I'm kind of glad it didn't happen because I ended up being sick, wouldn't have been able to go, but I think that would have been fantastic. And I'll preface it by saying that I do actually like the prequels. I know that'll get me stoned or hung or whatever, but I, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're nowhere near on the same level as the original trilogy. They're not that good. But I don't think they're as bad as a lot of people make them out to be. Um, I just think that they suffered from some flaws. They suffered from a lack of. I think it's what a lot of creatives get when they get uh, successful and powerful enough, I guess, is that you end up with a lack of basically editorial oversight. You see this with some comic writers. You see this with some authors. Uh, it was really noticeable to me with the Harry Potter series. Once you got into about what was it, Order of the Phoenix, I think it was, you could really tell that her editors basically had hit a point where they weren't able to edit her anymore, or they weren't willing to because she was so successful. Um, and the books just started getting more and more bloated, and there was a lot of extra verbiage and descriptiveness and stuff that didn't need to be there. Um, and I think that's a lot of what happened with Lucas, is that Lucas went into the prequels without having anybody to kind of look over his shoulder and go, "This might not be a great idea, George." Um, but like I said, I think overall the stories aren't bad. They do what they do. Their biggest failing is not living up to the original trilogy, though, I think. And for a fan, that's a terrible thing. That is, that basically every negative is magnified by 5 or 10 because of the fact that it's not as good as what they wanted. But anyways, so that's enough about the originals. Force Awakened. First off, loved it. Holy crap. And I'm going to note here, there may be some spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, you may not want to watch this video right now. So I'm going to talk about details of the movie. First off, it was Star Wars. I sat in the theater, I watched it, and frankly, I was 6 years old again. 7 years old again, sitting in the theater watching Star Wars. The music, the action, the dialogue, everything. I mean, I teared up a whole bunch of times throughout the movie just because it made me so happy and it was just awesome. It was amazing to see. The characters were fantastic. Rey was interesting. I think she's an interesting character. It'll be really neat to see where she goes. I know there's a lot of speculation on who she actually is. It's obvious that she's linked to somebody from the original series somehow. The big theory, of course, being that she's Luke's daughter, and I agree with that. I think she is Luke's daughter. The way the lightsaber called to her, basically, her flashbacks, everything that happened with her just tells me she's Luke's daughter. But I mean, I could be wrong. Finn was great, and I'll tell you why. Finn was great because he was a stormtrooper. When I was in college, playing with my buddy, I ran a Star Wars game and played in a Star Wars game. We started off with just one little group, but we kept gathering players. So eventually the group expanded into effectively about 3 groups worth of players. And we sort of played this big shared campaign. I ran 2 groups and another guy ran a third. And the players could just sort of interchange as needed. Everybody worked out of the same, basically, rebel cell, rebel base. And so it was one of those things where, whoever was around the one night, that would be the team that would get called upon. But the character I played, and that was my very first Star Wars character that I ever got to play, was a stormtrooper, basically an ex-stormtrooper who basically was largely exactly Finn's story. He got commanded to slaughter a village and refused. He didn't want to. So I thought that was really awesome because, that's a character I played. So Finn was great just for that. I think they did a lot of really good with him, though, too, just with him being just constantly scared and freaked out and in over his head, but still pulling it off. Poe was interesting, but we didn't get to really see a whole lot of him, so we'll have to wait and see more of him. And BB-8 was great. It was amazing to see the original cast back. Leia, Han, Luke at the end, Chewie, R2 and 3PO. Oh. And there were just so many throwbacks. So many little lines, so many little scenes, so many things that just went back to the original movie. And I've actually seen people criticize the movie for this, but you know what? Screw them. That's some of what I wanted. It ties it back to the original trilogy, it links it, it bridges it, and it helps give it that feeling. And it makes a good launching off point. Now, if the next movie is just, Empire retreaded, then yeah, it might be a bit of an issue. That's when you got to go, are you guys out of ideas? But even then, I don't care. I want to see Star Wars. It doesn't... Frankly, the plot doesn't actually matter a whole lot to me, as long as I get to see good versus evil, and I get to see characters that I love in a setting I love. They could basically spend they could do an entire movie where just showing everybody running around gathering ingredients to cook dinner. And I wouldn't care. As long as I'm getting Star Wars. As long as I'm getting what I expect. And this movie delivered what I expected. I think there was just some amazing stuff to it. It was just fantastic. The scene when Finn and Rey steal that ship off of Jakku, and when it takes off and you realize it's the Falcon. Holy crap! And then Chewie and Han showing up. It was amazing. I'm tearing up here a little bit. Just thinking about it all, because it was just... And frankly, I want to run right out. I wanted to go, as soon as the movie was over, I wanted to go to the store and buy an X-Wing and a TIE Fighter toy. One of the big full-size, 3 3/4 inch. Just get me an X-Wing, get me a TIE Fighter, and some action figures, and fly them around and shoot each other. Like I said, it made me a kid again. And that's amazing, because I'm kind of an old jaded and bitter grump anymore. So it was fantastic. Kylo Ren was an interesting character. Kind of a petulant little putz. But it'll be interesting to see how he develops from all of that. The reveal of him being Ben Solo was interesting. Um, I kind of suspected that was coming, but I wasn't sure. With him being Leia and Han's son. And unfortunately, then at the end, Han dying. Kind of saw that coming. Mainly because there was a lot of bandying about how Han wanted to die, or how Harrison Ford wanted Han to die in the original movies. So it kind of made a certain amount of sense, and I kind of suspected that was going to happen as a big shocker scene, just because it was just kind of due. I know Harrison Ford wanted to go out sort of in a blaze of glory, anyways, and it did make a good capper to Kylo's initial arc, showing him, fully embracing his dark side. So it'll be interesting. I'm kind of bummed I got to wait 2 years for the next movie, but I can't wait. I just the like I said, the movie was just amazing. I want to see it again. I need to see it again. There were so many details and just so much to absorb that, I know I didn't catch half of it. I was just so busy watching the main characters in the story that I didn't get, some of the backgrounds and stuff where there was so much detail to take in. I know I need to go back. I need to see it again for just to try to take all of that in. But yeah, overall, it's just an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Although if you haven't seen it, you probably shouldn't have watched all of this, since I spoiled a bunch of stuff. Just amazing. Like I said, I can't rave about it enough. I blown away, so happy, so, like I said, once again, I was a 6-year-old and sitting in the movie, just staring at the screen, going. I also want to say I did see it in 3D. I was a little hesitant about that because I saw Avatar in 3D, and while I didn't particularly care for the movie Avatar, the movie, I thought it was kind of eh. I thought it was worth seeing in 3D. I enjoyed the 3D aspect of it because it was filmed completely in 3D. It was designed for 3D. They did some amazing effects. But since then, I've seen a few films that were done in 3D that weren't really 3D movies. They were just, they were done, and they also did the 3D version. And I was much less impressed. There are some decent, so a couple of the movies have had decent 3D effects, but for the most part, I felt that watching them in 2D I didn't lose anything. Star Wars is probably the same way. I don't think that the 3D is 100% necessary, but there are some really good effects to it. They did do it pretty decently. I did enjoy the 3D aspect of it, so it is worth seeing it in 3D if you do go see it. But yeah. Well, that's my review. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Big shout out to all of my patrons who backed my Patreon campaign. They're the ones that make these videos possible. So please, if you enjoyed the video, like. If you want to see more of these, subscribe. And if you're interested in helping me produce more videos in the future, please click the link below and hit my Patreon page and consider becoming a patron. Thank you very much, and you have a good one.